city, a little town where I'm from, where everybody's southern raised, just as good as they come. Backwoods and mossy oak and mud holes, and back then we only ate what the farm grow. Man, I miss some days how we played on them dirt roads, and out of towners came with respect, cause they know we all close. Yeah, southern pride, towing gun folks. Welcome to my city, I-75 South, just north of Live.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when they ride. This is small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city. Title town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We headed up with big trucks and heavy G's. Pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
It's nothing like our dirt roads, you can bet that, son. I'm from a city, by any means, we gon' protect our guns. I hang with the rednecks and geekies. We get up in big trucks in the backwoods like Indians and teepees. This the home of the mighty, mighty Vikings. Wildcats, blazing, title town license. Winners, pretty girls with country grammar. When I say about Austin, Georgia, I ain't talking about Atlanta. This a different type of city, where the woods are pretty, but get gritty. You hear me? What you know about that 229? You can find us on the Florida, Georgia line, right beside me.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when we ride. This is small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city. Time of town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We headed up with big trucks and heavy G's. Pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey. Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when we ride. This is small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city. Time of town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We headed up with big trucks and heavy G's. Pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
Go Vikings, go. What's up, Lowndes County? It's Thursday night, and welcome to the Viking Nation Live. This is a weekly celebration of our One Lowndes community, and we've got a few more people gathered together tonight to help us celebrate this. You know, when that music kicks off this time of year, Chase Garnto, I can see you dancing in the background in the virtual backstage. I feel it, man. But you know, I got a couple of super fans that are joining me tonight. One's a regular, Chase Garnto. The other one is a semi-regular, and that's Jason Anderson. Chase, you know, when I bring you guys on the screen, we gotta, I don't know, man. We gotta add some. We gotta give Jason some like a virtual monster drink or something like that, because that music's going off, and you and I are jamming in the background. And he's got his game face on. He's like, "Put me in, coach. I'm ready to go." And you and I are like cheerleaders in the background. I don't know how you guys feel about this time of the year, but it's game week. We don't need a countdown to kick off anymore, right? We've already kicked off. The Corky Kell Classic kicked off last night with a couple of games. Milton is playing someone tonight. I think there's a couple of games tonight. Can't remember the Corky Kell schedule, but we've got our own kickoff classic that starts Saturday at 4:00 when we go over to Moultrie to play Christ School out of North Carolina. And one of the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight, Jason and I are going to not debate, but we're going to have a pointed discussion about kickoff classics, especially in the South. Are they needed? What's the purpose of it? Is it really to generate excitement? Do we really need it? That kind of stuff. Is there a better alternative to the current format of playing at 4:00 in the afternoon? So stay tuned. There might be some passionate discussion that's about to ensue. So anyway, listen, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors before I bring our super fans on. First of all, I want to thank Pepsi of Valdosta for sponsoring us the entire season. They're our title sponsor. They are the producers and distributors of Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Rockstar, Mountain Dew Energy, Mountain Dew Spark. Listen, every single morning, I start my day at the Circle K. I know that kind of rhymed, and I didn't even mean it, right? But I start my day at the Circle K with a big gulp of Diet Mountain Dew. Because of these guys, Pepsi of Valdosta. I swear, Diet Mountain Dew or Mountain Dew Zero is like the nectar of the gods. It just is. Odin himself must have drank Diet Mountain Dew. It's that good. So I want to thank Pepsi of Valdosta. Thank you so much to this guy, Kyle Conger at White Oak Investment, 229-850-8848. The market's down this week. The market's been down last several days, but last week it was up. The week before it was down. So this topsy-turvy thing. But listen, if you were in it by yourself, I can understand why your stomach would be in knots. But that's why you need a sound financial guy to bounce things off of, so he can talk you off the ledge when you have a couple of days that we've had recently. And Kyle could be that guy for you. He's certainly my guy at White Oak Investment, 229-850-8848. I want to thank this guy, Tim Neesmith, longtime friend of the show and a native of Lowndes County. Is that how you say it, Lowndes County? I really don't know. I may have just made up that word. I don't know. But regardless, he can make your window treatments beautiful because he has a company called A Shade of Perfection where he specializes in custom shades and blinds. If you could use his service or his products, give him a shout out at 229-251-3479. You can also find him on his website, ashadeofperfection.com. Thank you so much, Tim Neesmith, for being a friend of the show. I want to thank these guys, the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta, 229-333-9838. Even though they're Gator fans, and this time of year, since I'm a dog fan, we become mortal enemies, but I still thank these guys for sponsoring our program because they're pillars of the community. You know why? Because they're the certified headache medicine specialist in this area, not just Valdosta, but this entire South Georgia region, because they offer a variety of migraine and back pain treatments. Josh Batson and Justin Haskin, thank you so much for your sponsorship, guys. I want to thank this guy, Chandler Kudik. He is a Lowndes Viking guy and graduated from Lowndes, came back to the community, opened up a business called AquaWorks Pool Company, where he specializes in keeping pools crystal clear. And every time he comes over, cleans my house, I get this email and a nice little report pops up on my phone, tells me exactly what he did, what chemicals that he puts in it, what's the pH level, what's the free chlorine level, all this stuff delivered straight to my phone. I don't even have to guess what he's done. So if you can use that kind of service, then give Chandler Kudik a call. AquaWorks Pool Company, 229-415-0752. And then finally, Imperial Auto Sales. If you've got automotive needs, give these guys a call. Tony Green and Trey Hatcher. They've got two great locations, one on Ashley Street, one on Bay Tree Road, imperialautosales.com. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. And as they say in show business, on with the show. So with that said, let me bring on our super fans, Chase Garnto and Jason Anderson. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us on this, what promises to be a pretty lively discussion tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know me, I love being here, bro.
Yeah,
Here, I got
Oh, look at it. We got the Mountain Dew.
the sponsor.
It's already empty though. I need a refill.
Yeah. So Jason, there must be something wrong with your camera because I have never seen our school colors as green as you've got that logo shirt on today.
Yeah.
This is from the St. Patrick's Day celebration for the baseball team. They had a big green out.
I got you.
So I wore it to Atlanta when they played Parkview for the state championship. And of course they won. So I figured now it's definitely not only symbolizes good luck, but it's actually a good luck shirt.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Guys,
like
before we get into Viking talk, I wanted to show a couple of things on the screen real fast. And let's see. Well, first of all, I want to give you my quote of the day because I started doing this segment and I think I'm close to getting a sponsor to sponsor this segment. It's the quote of the day. These are just little motivational quotes that I've had. It always seems impossible until it's done. I wish Billy Pearson were watching tonight because it's appropriate at the start of football season. It might seem like Lowndes is going to win a state championship again until, like the baseball team proved, Lowndes wins another state championship again. So it always seems impossible until it's done. So again, once again, congratulations to the Lowndes High baseball team for paving the way and showing us all that it can still be done. Guys, this is one of the things that I want to talk about. You talk about crazy football fans all over Georgia. This is I'm sure you've both heard of the reputation that Texas has about their high school football, right? Now, this picture is from a brand new stadium that was just built for Melissa High School somewhere in Texas. Do you know how many the stadium seats 10,000 people? And you see that there is a full-fledged indoor practice facility that is connected to the stadium right there on the left side, right? So do you know how many students are in this high school?
I do. 1,300.
1,300 kids, Jason.
Man, they must tax revenue must be nice in that place.
Man, I don't know what their Friday night attendance is, but doggone 10,000 seat stadium for 1,300 kid high school.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And look at that really nice practice field right on the other side of their IPF. That is just a tremendous football facility.
That's insane.
That is insane, man. So check this out. At the top of the press box, they've actually got suites.
Like, this is way, way over the top. I mean, does somebody else use the stadium? Is there a college that uses it? Is it just the high school?
I believe it's just Melissa High School. Yeah, you saw the
Texas, and
you see the end zone, the Melissa Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that one. So you guys thought that high school football was crazy in Georgia, but man, oh man, it's true. Everything is bigger in Texas.
How good is that school? How good is that team? I mean, are they just a powerhouse, or are they just like?
They better be.
Yeah, I believe they are. According to the article that I read, okay, it said that let's see. Melissa is located nearly 40 miles outside of Dallas, and the high school houses 1,300 kids in a state. Kenny Deal Stadium seats 10,000. They are the #1 ranked team in 5A Division II, whatever that is. And so in week 1, they're going to be hosting the #3 ranked Argyle Eagles. So 10,000 seat stadium for 1,300 kids. Whew,
that's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
All right, so let's get into some of the things that we want to talk about tonight. Before we start talking about the game coming up Saturday, I don't know if either of you had a chance to make it to the preseason scrimmage against Tift County. I mean, we had a pretty good game going into that thing. Did either one of you had a chance to make it? I know Chase, you weren't feeling very well. Jason, you were there. Jason,
it was just too
what's
much.
your initial thoughts on how we looked against Tift County? Now, the caveat is it was Tift County, but Did we live up to your expectations better than you expected? You just don't have an opinion yet, or what's your thoughts?
Well, now I'm not an X's and O's guy when it comes to football. So you'll never hear me talk about, the way the team lines up. I'm just not educated on all that. I didn't play enough football to be good at that. But so I can tell you what the average fan saw, right? So what I saw was a team that threw the ball more than I think we have traditionally thrown the ball.
Yeah.
And I feel like we threw the ball well. We caught the ball well. The passing game, I feel like was a good indication of where we're headed, I hope. With the exception of the very first play from scrimmage, we had a huge drop pass, but I know that was probably a lot of nerves. But the pass was on the money.
It sure
Everything
was.
outside of that one play I thought was great. We got really fast running backs. Those guys are speedy. At least they looked that way against Tiff. So the running backs looked fast. They're not big. We just don't produce big running backs. And if you think, I made that comment to you, Larry, over text, but then I sort of thought about what I had said, and you don't see a lot of big running backs in any program anymore.
Right.
You may see one here and there. I think Bainbridge had the guy that went down to Florida a few years ago, and he was a bruiser. But you just don't see a lot of big running backs. Most of them are they're like middle of the road as far as size goes, but they're all fast. I thought our guys looked fast. I thought our defense looked good. They were all over the place. They were now Tipton did have a running back that was pretty stout. He carried a load and was kind of hard to bring down, but we were tackling, gang tackling, getting to the ball in a hurry. So I feel like even though it was Tipton, and I don't want to say that like I'm disparagingly towards Tipton, but because I don't really know how good they are either, to be honest with you. But I thought we looked good. I thought I saw a lot of things that we can be excited about.
Yeah, I talked to Cole Moore. Everybody familiar with the show knows who Cole Moore is by now. Big Tiff County guy. He asked me. He didn't have a chance to come down to watch their preseason scrimmage, so he asked me what was my objective opinion on Tiff County. I said Tiff County looks 100% better than they did last year. Just 100%. Their offense is probably going to have to carry them for a while before their defense catches up, because their defensive line I thought was undersized. So we were pushing them around pretty easily. It could have been a combination of us and their undersized, inexperienced defensive line. I'm not sure. I don't know their program well enough to say one way or the other. I just noticed that they did have an undersized defensive line, and we were running right at them and getting big chunks of yardage. So I thought our passing game still needs a little bit of polish, but receivers were getting open. We had a few drop balls, so I think that's going to get cleaned up. Marvis looked 100% better than he did last year. As far as throwing the ball, he just looks more comfortable. His delivery looks a lot better. His mechanics, his footwork looks, and you know what, guys? That just comes with a year's worth of experience under his belt and working with Don Bailey over the offseason. It's obvious the guy's put in a tremendous amount of work, and it just showed Friday night against Tiff County.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing, and then I'll Chase talk. Our offensive line is big. We have some big kids on the offensive line.
We sure do. We sure absolutely.
Sorry, Chase.
No, I mean, I wasn't there, so I mean, what I did here was kind of mixed reviews. So I saw a few highlights. I saw one of the kids that jumped off the screen, and one of the highlights was Amarion Whitlock, number 49, defensive end. He blew up several plays in the backfield. Just quick as lightning off the ball when he wants to be. One of the highlights I saw was Smoke running over one of their players, which Smoke looked like he put on a little bit of muscle in the offseason. So, he looked a little thicker, which is a good thing for a running back. So, I especially like to see, Smoke put on a little bit of weight, but maintain that speed that he had. Jalen Carter is probably the most sure-handed receiver we got on the field. I mean, I don't call him Mr. Waffle House for nothing. So, it's one of those things where I'm going to see what it looks like against Christ School. Now, I looked in a little bit on them, and I don't know.
Yeah, Jason, back to something that you said. our offensive line was noticeably bigger, especially those bookends in the offensive tackles. You know, you got left offensive tackle Daniel DJ Jones. You got the right offensive tackle in Hayden Williams. They're both seniors. They're both very, very large men, young men. Your left guard is Josh Hill. Your center's Francisco Paz. Right guard is Benjamin I think his name is Corey or Corey. I got to make sure I get the right pronunciation. I think it's Corey. But anyway, he's a sophomore. Now, this is a very senior laden offensive line. Everyone except the right guard, Benjamin Corey, is a senior, and they played that way Friday night. I mean, they were opening up big, massive holes. We saw one play, Road Dog. They call him Road Dog Chase. You know that. That's Aleem Brown, number 2, that backup running back to Smoke. Jason, that one play we saw, the left side just opened up. It looked like the Israelites going across the sea, right? Because there was nothing touching him. He just raced untouched down the left sideline. And that's just because of that tremendous work the offensive line did. So I was really proud of those kids. Now, the wide receiving core looked impressive as far as route running, getting open, that kind of stuff. We had a couple of drop passes that Marvis threw just right on the money. Like I said before, that's going to be cleaned up in time. But one of the things that one kid that has been touted all offseason long is our tight end, Grant Lasky. And they got him involved early in the passing game as well. Even if you just threaten to throw to the tight end every once in a while, that keeps that defense just so much more honest, because now if you've got a 3-headed monster in wide receivers plus Grant Lasky that can come in, run some tight end routes out to the side, that kind of stuff. And then you got these 2 monster running backs behind this pretty good offensive line. I think our offense is going to be pretty stout this year. So what do you guys, let me turn the attention to the defense. Jason, what were your thoughts on the defense? You said that you thought they looked pretty good, pretty fast.
Yeah, I thought they were fast. They were just flying to the ball, you know, going, making plays, going where the ball is, getting there in a hurry, getting there with a bad intention. You know, I just thought they did a good job. The first couple of plays for the Tiff running back, I mean, he was kind of trying to run over some people. And I think to me, I felt like our guys, almost like they got punched in the mouth just a little bit by that, and they didn't like it very much. So after that, they were on it. They were after him, and that was really all the success that he had. Was probably the first couple of plays where he looked a little tough to bring down.
Absolutely. So now we head into this week, and that is it's going to be a tough environment to play in. Not because it's Colquitt County. We're not playing Colquitt County, so it's not going to be the tough environment that we're used to. Jason, you and I were talking earlier this week about the environment as far as just what time the game's being played and that kind of stuff. Guys, I just remembered before we continue this conversation, we are starting back our giveaways on our show, our weekly giveaways. And this week, speaking of the game on Saturday, we're actually giving away 2 tickets to that game over there. And these are $15 each. So that's $30 worth of tickets right there. If you would like to enter for a chance to win your tickets or 2 tickets to this game, I'm going to put this on the screen. All you got to do right now in the comments section is type in #OneLounge. One word. Don't put any spaces. You got to make sure you spell it correctly. It can all be lowercase letters if you want to, but just like you see it right there on the screen, #OneLounge. Okay. So that's all you got to do. So go ahead and start doing that. And that's going to be available up until the time we actually draw for those tickets at the end of the show. So you're going to have to stick around. You're going to have to stick around to make sure that that you get your chance to win. So let's talk about this game that's coming up on Saturday. It's going to be at 4:00. It's a doubleheader. Everybody knows that by now. It's going to be at 4:00 in the afternoon. You guys see a problem with this already, right? Jason, you're smiling already. Jason, what's the problem?
It's hot.
It's hot. The weather is scheduled to be clear, sunny, bright, and about 95 to 97 degrees with a heat index well over 100 degrees. And you're playing on a rubber-filled artificial turf surface where the surface of it's going to be even probably 15 to 20 degrees hotter than that. So you're talking about 115 to 120 degree surface temperature for players.
Well, now
that to me is the problem. But go ahead, Chase.
Well, here's a question I got, and I don't remember from last year, but Colquitt County's got that two-tone turf, same as we do. Is theirs put in with the little rubber pellets, or do they have the new brown stuff like we put in on ours?
They have the rubber pellets, I believe. We have the new cork pellets.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed when we did the Meet the Vikings thing out there at the high school, Larry, but that turf didn't seem to hold as much heat as it had in the past.
Correct. Yeah. Because you're comparing cork versus rubber.
Yeah,
right?
It was a lot cooler on the turf in Martin Stadium than it had been in past years. So, that. Yeah, you're absolutely 100% correct. It's going to be at least 10 degrees hotter on that turf.
That's right. And so before we continue this discussion, we've been promoting this on this show for several weeks now about getting your tickets, that kind of stuff. Chase, you may not already know the answer to that. I think I already told you, so you don't have to shout out this answer. But guys, I'm going to ask you in the comments section to put in some numbers here. How many tickets do you think we've already sold for this 4:00 kickoff game? So, Jason, if you had to throw out a guess, what would you say? How many tickets have we already sold?
300.
300. Okay. All right. So I don't know if anybody's going to try to guess. Travis Hart says 500 tickets. Somebody earlier today, I can't remember who. Chase, it might have been you.
I got slapped on the hand.
You said 1,500.
Yeah, I was trying to give us the benefit of the doubt, LG, and then you slapped me on the hand just now, so I can't even comment. I'm just going to sit over here in my corner.
Yeah, so I think Tierra Battle, she's watching. I think when I asked her, she said, 700, 800, something like that. Greg Maddox, he's shooting for the moon. He says 2,000. 2,000 pre-sold tickets.
Yeah, Greg, I thought the same thing.
Do y'all remember a couple of weeks ago when I had this kind of heart-to-heart talk about Lowndes fans traveling, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, me and you had a long discussion about that.
This is what I was afraid of. The reason why I did that, because I was afraid this was going to happen. It's going to be a 4:00 kickoff. Now Joe Mamone is watching. He helped put this game together. He's also involved with Flow Football. Flow Football is going to be streaming this game. It's going to be a $20 cost, not just for that game, but it's like a $20 per month subscription. You can cancel it anytime, but for that $20, you can watch both games in the comfort of your own home. So I think that the word got out. It was going to be streamed. There was no secret about that. In combination with a 4:00 start time, it's going to be 1,000 degrees. Feel like you're sitting on the surface of the sun. So with all that said, as of early this afternoon, we had sold a grand total of 204 tickets. So virtually nobody is going to be there.
And see,
now obviously there's going to be probably 100, maybe 200 more people show up at the gate right before game time to buy tickets, that kind of stuff. So we'll end up having about maybe 400 to 500 people traveling on the road. But guys, you know what? That's about par for the course nowadays, as far as Lowndes traveling to an away game. Now, if we were playing Colquitt at 7:30 on a Friday night, we would have probably 1,500 fans there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
No doubt.
We pack out the visitor side. But this is what I talked about. This is one of the conversations me and you had, Larry. And I don't know if Jason was watching that particular episode of our episodic series every week. But that was one of the things that we talked about. And I even said on the show, it's a Saturday afternoon. There's no college football. You ain't got nothing better to do at 4:00 on a Saturday afternoon than to drive 30 minutes to the west and go watch Lowndes. Go support our boys. I mean,
Now Jason is going to take Jason has got a different opinion on this. He's going to be watching this game probably from the comfort of his air conditioned recliner.
No, come on, Jason, don't do that. Don't be
now,
that
Jason.
100%.
Jason, it's not that you don't want to travel; it's that you don't want to travel over there and sit at 4 o'clock kickoff game in 1,000 degrees. Right. And I think your voice tonight, I wanted to have you on tonight to have this back and forth discussion about one, kickoff classics, and two, specifically about these early games, like 4 o'clock. Kickoff classics is one thing. And the concept of kickoff classic, I think, is a good idea, where you have multiple programs kind of gathered in one place, kind of like the Corky Kill up in Atlanta. And it's basically a bunch of marquee matchups between outstanding programs, and it just generates excitement among the fans that's outside of your regular fan base, so they can come and enjoy the fun and excitement as well. But you have a different take on that because of, one, the time of the game, and then two, you think it's unnecessary.
Well, before I say anything, I'm gonna get a lot of. I actually put my iPad up so I could see myself get bashed here in the comments. So my biggest issue is the heat. So if you don't remember anything I say from this point forward, remember that all of my contention around this is around the game time.
Yeah.
Okay. On turf, it's 95 degrees. Forget the fans. I can go over there and sit in the heat. I can get up anytime I feel like it and go to my car and go home. These players and coaches and cheerleaders and band members and everybody else that's a part of the staff, they don't have that choice. And it is hot, people. I don't know if you've been outside. I assume everybody in the comment section has. I cut my grass earlier. Unbearable. Push mower, right? I don't have a riding mower. It is unbearable. So that is my primary contention with this, is the game time. And it does dovetail into my other point with, is this necessary? Are these kickoff classics necessary? It's not necessary to the point where kids have to play in 115 heat index, okay? It's not worth that, in my opinion. So in South Georgia, there are few things besides Christmas morning that people look forward to more than the opening week of high school football, period.
Factual.
You don't have to drum up enthusiasm for that. You schedule a team. It may not be the best team around, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't schedule quality teams, but my point is, you schedule a home game against almost anybody, you're going to sell probably more than 200 tickets the first week, I would imagine. I don't know that because a lot of those season ticket holders already have their tickets. So they're not, those tickets have been bought. But my 2 points are, it's too hot. I don't know why those games have to be scheduled that way. I don't think it's quite necessary. And is it really necessary to have a kickoff classic to create enthusiasm? I contend that it is not.
Well, one, let me give you a rebuttal. Are kickoff classics necessary? Obviously, the answer is no. Nothing's absolutely necessary. Are they useful to generate excitement? I would argue yes, not among the fan base of the school that's participating in it, but among other high school fans that's outside of that program. Let me give you an example. Tonight, you've got, let's see, Friday night. I'm looking at the Corky Kell kickoff classic right here. Right here, you have Brookwood and McEachern going up against each other. You've got North Gwinnett and Mill Creek, Walton and Grayson, Marietta versus Norcross. All those games get played back to back to back to back. So if you are a fan of Grayson, you're obviously going to be a big football fan, and so you may want to show up early to watch these other big time matchups between these other types of programs, because Brookwood and McEachern, that's going to be a good game. North Gwinnett and Mill Creek is going to be a really good game. And so if you're just a football fan outside of these regular fan bases, that's why you get excited. That's why these kickoff classics are developed, not for the fan bases of the teams participating, but for the other people that want to. And that's where you and I talk. Everything is goes back to money, right? These are big money makers. So one at a time. Jason, you go first.
I'll just add to what you said. Those are great matchups. Every matchup you name is a great matchup. I don't know who Christ School is. You're going to have to tell me how good they are, because honestly, I don't know, and I've not done any research. But that's a side point. The other point is, they're going to watch all of those games in the climate-controlled confines of the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Game changer.
Now that's fair, right there.
Will I buy a ticket and sit in 72 degrees with no rain? Absolutely. I'll sit and watch Marietta play whoever, or Brookwood play whoever. Not a problem. Am I going to roast like a rotisserie chicken to see Norcross play Parkview or whoever? Absolutely not. No way.
Chase, you had something you wanted to add.
All right, here's my take on it. And I agree with everything that was said. But kind of like what Jason alluded to, the Corky Kells played at the Dome, or the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, whatever you want to call it. It's still the Dome to all us old fogies. But, we need to figure out a way to maybe not necessarily get a dome, but okay. Colquitt's playing at what, 7, 8 o'clock?
7:30. Yeah.
Okay. It's going to start cooling down just a hair when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a night game. If you want to do these kickoff classics, you want to do these kickoff events, especially in South Georgia, make it a 2-day event, make it a 2-night event. Do a 7:30 kickoff on a Friday night, and do a 7:30 kickoff on Saturday. Be able to use tickets, $15 cover both games, just like it does now, and you are probably going to get an influx of more people.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't see this agreement with Colquitt being revived next year, just because of this. We've tried this before. Remember a couple of years ago, we had that kickoff classic partnership with Ware County, where we had a couple of Florida teams come to Martin Stadium, and Ware played, I think it was Manatee High at 4 o'clock. And then we played Plant in the later that evening at 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some hardcore football fans there. Hardly anybody showed up for Ware County. You had some hardcore fans, that kind of stuff, just because. And Ware County is usually a team that travels very, very well.
Yes, they do.
But nobody hardly came to that game because it was so early in the day, and it was so hot, right? So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Larry. I saw Joe's comment that last year Colquitt played at 4, and this year it's Lowndes' turn. I contend that Colquitt should not play at 4 o'clock. This is not about Lowndes playing at 4 o'clock. This is about anybody playing at 4 o'clock.
And Colquitt, to your point, and Colquitt, they're known for a well-traveling fan base as well. And when they came over to Martin Stadium, not as many of their fans showed up for their game. Okay, just because it's so early in the day. So I agree with that premise that a 4 o'clock game in a South Georgia hot heat is just probably too early. What I would propose, Chase touched on it, Jason, you and I have talked about it, is to have like a Titletown kickoff classic where it's a partnership between Lowndes and Valdosta. Why not? You got two fantastic brands here in one town. And so have it on a Friday night and a Saturday night back to back. So one year you have it, let's say next year you have it Valdosta Friday night, Lowndes Saturday night. The following year, 2-year deal, you have a game where Lowndes hosts on a Friday night and Valdosta gets the Saturday night. Okay. So that way you got both fan bases that's going to have a free night to go and help fill up the other visiting side of that stadium. Right. So
I like that idea.
Yeah, I think it's a fan. Listen, we've got a brand here in Titletown and in Wintersville, and then you got on top of that Lowndes and Valdosta, two big brands. Why not leverage that, man, and just make it a whole weekend full of football? Except just make it at night, right?
Yeah, and I do want to say something else. I'm sure there's a lot of old fogies like that are my age in the comments, or they're thinking, if they're not saying it, we played in the heat growing up. You got to toughen up. We're old school. We work in the yard with an overcoat in the 100-degree heat because we're so tough. Okay, I get it. But if you're out there on that turf, it's a different ball game. And I also did see somebody comment, VSU does play noon games on turf out there. Now that's a little later in the year than maybe August the 19th this game is. But so there is that. And I'm not saying this is a perfect world. Colleges play noon games all the time. But if you'll notice, most of those college schools don't have turf fields. Most of those college schools have grass. And it is a noticeable difference between the two. But yeah, like I said a minute ago, I'll make this point again. This isn't about Lowndes. This is about any kid having to strap on pads and a helmet and play at 4:00 in the afternoon when you've got Friday night and Saturday night, when, like you guys have discussed, you can sell tickets that span both games. You'll probably get more people. I'm sure I'm not the only person that's not going to Colquitt because it's going to be 1,000,000 degrees out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I'm glad you brought up VSU. I'm a VSU grad. I love going to their football games, but I stopped going because they started kickoff at 12:00, and it's so dang hot out there in even September. It is so hot at 12 noon, and it was unbearable. So I just stopped going.
Well, and even if you wanted to, let's say we did a Titletown kickoff, kind of like what you're talking about. And let's say it generated a lot of hype, a lot of influx of money, and a lot of revenue. You got to think about it. Then you could expand it into having 4 games instead of just 2, because then you could run both stadiums on both Friday and Saturday night. So then you're generating even more revenue. And then if it generates after that, you could back it up, have a Thursday night. So, I mean, there's ways for both of these schools, both of these programs to be able to generate buzz, generate revenue, and generate some good football, and not be at 4:00 in the afternoon. You could probably get Valwood and Georgia Christian on board to do maybe a Thursday night deal where you get, two more Christian schools or 2 more private schools to come in from, let's say, North Georgia or Alabama or Carolina, Tennessee, wherever, to come down and play those 2.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, there's all kinds of ideas out there. I do like the concept of a Titletown Invitational, Titletown Classic, that kind of stuff, where it's a partnership between Valdosta and Lowndes. You play one Friday night, play the other one Saturday night. If it expands, I like the idea of going to 2 games at both stadiums on Friday and Saturday night. I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
I think it's great. I'm not trying to be, so negative about it, but I am passionate about the game time. I am passionate about that. I might be. You might have to take away my super fan status because I'm not going to bake Saturday afternoon. But I'm just being honest. I'm not going to try to make an excuse for it. I'm not going to sit out there and burn up. I barely want to do it for college games, and I'll never go back to a day game at the Braves Stadium. I've already vowed never to do that again. That's off my list.
Right.
So I don't think it's necessary. I think we have other options. We've discussed those here. And I don't know the powers that be who decide when the games are played. I don't know who does that. Maybe the schools do that. Maybe it's not the promoter who does that. I don't know who does it, but I just would like to see a little more creativity around when these games are played. And I honestly believe it would help ticket sales if you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a moneymaker. I'm talking a huge moneymaker for both programs if you had some type of 2-night kickoff classic and you live stream both games and you actually charge for the live stream. It's a huge moneymaker. You bring in 2 national well-known teams, whether it's Miami Central, they're one of the best teams in the country. They'll travel anywhere. I mean, they'll come up to Lowndes. Listen, I've interviewed their head coach a couple of times with Joe Mamone. I've already asked him. He'll come up to Valdosta and Lowndes. That's not a problem getting these big, well-known teams in here. So anyway, it can be done. We just got to have the will to do it. So anyway, we've shown the initiative that we are willing to do these kickoff classics. I think the last couple of years have been good. My point is they could be even better, I think, just by moving the games to a 2-night deal at nighttime.
Larry, because we know this is about money, right? At some point for the schools, we know that this isn't just about watching football, right?
Yeah.
So where does most of the revenue come from? Does it come from the streaming? It has to come from the streaming, right?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. So, if you're talking about something like a Corky Kell Classic, most of that money comes from just ticket sales, because I don't think.
No, I mean our
stuff. Yeah, most of the dollars that's outside of ticket sales, like what we're talking about, comes from the streaming. I mean, because the reason why we have a Dutch Fork and a Christ School is because we want to appeal, or the promoters, both schools wanted to appeal to a nationwide audience, so that nationwide audience would buy the streaming games.
Right. Okay.
So anyway, before we go any further, I forgot to mention something that I wanted to talk about in the Tift County scrimmage that happened the other night. That was a controversial play that a lot of people got upset about. Tift County threw the ball, and it looked like our defensive back made a clean tackle, right? Separated. I mean, I think the guy's helmet even flew off. It was such a big hit, but the hit came from almost the side behind the receiver. I mean, it wasn't targeting. He didn't lead with the head or anything like that. But then a flag was thrown, and a personal foul penalty, a 15-yard personal foul penalty, was called, and everybody got upset. I'm talking to everybody, because it looked like such a clean hit. And the way it was explained to me, I have to confirm this. I haven't gotten it confirmed in any type of rule book yet. But the way it was explained to me was there is an emphasis this year of cracking down on tackles being led with a shoulder. And you've seen it over the years, right? You've seen defensive backs try to, instead of trying to wrap up and make a tackle, they try to hit someone as hard as they can by leading with their shoulder. Right.
Yeah.
And they've been taught that over the years. Defensive back coaches all over have taught their defensive backs to do that, because they try to create a big hit, try to separate the ball, fumbles, that kind of stuff. But the way it was explained to us the other night was now defenders have to actually engage in trying to either wrap up or tackle with their hands instead of leading with a shoulder. What do you guys think about that?
So now we want to wind up with some broken fingers and some broken arms versus, no,
not necessarily, Chase. Not necessarily, Chase. This is old school tackling that they taught us when we were growing up. Is when we tackle, we wrap up. But that hasn't been the case over the last decade or so.
The new teaching from USA Football. Hold on, give me just a second, Jason. The new teaching from a company that's spent a lot of time and a lot of money developing tackling techniques and teaching them all across the board, high school, middle school, youth, everything. One of the things that they teach is near shoulder, near hip. Okay. Which means you engage the shoulder to the hip first. Your hands follow after that.
Correct.
So are we just going to tell kids not to lead with the shoulder anymore? I mean,
no, what you just described, from my understanding, is perfectly okay. It's these kids that lead with their shoulder and nothing else. Okay. And you know exactly what I'm talking. We've seen these big hits.
About the launch. Yeah, you're talking about launching yourself at a receiver.
Exactly
now
right.
If you launch, that is in college, we all know that's illegal. You can't launch. But you can lead with the shoulder, but you have to bring your hands with you at some point.
That's why they emphasize that you've got to actually engage in the act of trying to wrap up.
Yes. So, I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't see the hit. I'm all for big hits. You know, I think that's just part of the game. You know, I mean, you go back and watch football, you know, even 4 or 5 years ago, the hits were different. I mean, and I agree, you know, I mean, it's all about safety and it's all about trying to eliminate concussions. But, yeah, I mean, unless you just stop playing football, there's no amount of anything's going to cut down on, you know, every injury. I mean, yeah, you can limit it to a certain point, but it's not going to eliminate it from the game. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only way you could ever really change what these kids do and what all football players do at every level is to take the face mask off their helmet. You take the face mask off their helmet, they'll stop doing a lot of stuff that they do because it really hurts to bury your face into some shoulder pads or somebody's hip.
Listen, I kind of jokingly said a couple of years ago is if you want to stop all this spearing and launching, that kind of stuff, go back to leather helmets.
Yes. Yeah. And there is this misconception that helmet is protecting your brain to a great extent. It's really not. I mean, it is, but it's not protecting it to the point where you can run into a brick wall head first. You know, it's not going to be a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm sort of torn on what you've asked this question. I didn't see that hit. We left at halftime, so it must have happened in the third quarter, so I didn't see that one. But
yeah,
or maybe I was looking at my phone.
Juna Bland says, I saw it and I thought it was clean. His helmet came off because it wasn't right, and they threw the flag. So they didn't throw the flag because his helmet popped off. His helmet popped off because it was such a big hit. But the reason they threw the flag is because he led with the shoulder and did not try to actually make a proper tackle.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm all for making it safer. I think that does take away some intimidation by the defense. It takes away that fear of going over the middle and catching a pass. You know, it takes away that gamesmanship that we all know is there. But you know, if it helps protect kids, then I guess I can stomach, you know, maybe just gently lay the guy down on the ground, you know.
Hey, listen, we joke about that, but I think in the next 5 or so years, you're going to see things like they're probably going to end up eliminating kickoffs from football. And then they'll do the next thing and then the next thing. So we probably are headed to a flag football future.
I think it'd be flag, yeah, like you said, powder puff.
Exactly right. All right, so let's talk about in the few minutes that we have left. Let's talk about the game that's coming up this week. This is where 7A starts in the preseason. This is basically the composite rankings for the 7A class across the state of Georgia. I don't think it surprises anybody that Buford's number one, in preseason number one. It did surprise me a little bit to see Colquitt coming in as number 2. I knew they were going to be a really, really good football team, but it did surprise me for them to be a consensus number 2. Number 3, tied for 30, is Mill Creek and Carrollton. Then you got Milton and Walton. Parkview, which had a pretty good game against Kell last night in a Corky Kell Classic. Then you got Grayson at number 8, Westlake 9, North Cobb 10, Norcross 11, North Gwinnett 12. Now, we play Colquitt later on in the year, and we play Grayson later on in the year as well. So does it surprise either one of you, really any of the viewers out there, does it surprise any of you guys that Lowndes is not in this top 12?
Nope.
No.
Now, you were pretty emphatic about that, Chase. So why would you say that?
Man, look at the year we had last year. Really?
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, it's the ranking system is what have you done for me lately?
Okay.
So, you know, you look at last year and for lack of a better word, the train wreck that was. At times,
at times we look like world beaters. Okay. We beat Grayson last year at home, so that was huge. But I think we come out in that game, and Grayson just come out flat. We come out on fire. We hit a big play right off of Jump Street, where we found Kevis Thomas right over the middle for, I think it was like 45 yards or something like that. And it was a big, huge chunk play. It just lit up the crowd, and that was huge for us. But then we go to Colquitt, we get our brain stomped in, because that got ugly quick. And then I believe we lost to Camden as well, right?
Yep.
So, and both of those were terrible losses for Lowndes. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I think Lowndes has got a lot to prove in the coming years if we want to see Lowndes back in the perennial top 10 of 7A.
Yeah. Like, so what I'm hearing both of you say is we got to start winning some ball games and earning some respect first before we're going to get recognized in the rankings again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I keep saying over and over that I think, and let me get your take on this, both of you guys. I think the pivotal game this year is going to be when Lowndes travels up to Grayson. And here's why. I think our record is going to be just fine going into that game. We go up there, Grayson, on the road, and we beat Adam Carter's former team, and beat them convincingly. I think we're going to come back full of, lack of a better word, full of piss and vinegar. A lot of confidence, a lot of swagger going into that Wintersville Classic. But we're going to have a pretty good rest of the season. But if we go up there to Grayson and get shown up, I think that's going to affect our psyche, our mindset, and it's going to affect the rest of the year for us. What do you guys think about that kind of analysis?
Jason, go ahead.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that's our first game where we have to prove, are we really good or are we just pretending, right? And let's be honest, Grayson is going to have every reason to be fired up. They're going to be fired up because they lost last year. They're going to be fired up because they're playing their old coach. They're playing at home. So, yeah, it's going to be a test for Lowndes. It's going to be a test for Coach Carter, going back into his old stomping grounds and hopefully pulling out a win. And if it happens, like you say, I think the guys come back fired up and have motivation, to carry that through the rest of the season and hopefully win some more big games.
Yeah. I want to say this too, before you say something, Chase. I want to say something to one of our fans. Trainer, listen, man, you got to stop. Trainer says Grayson was 0-4 against Lowndes with Adam Carter as the head coach, 3 playoff losses and 1 regular season loss. All that is true, but that is not now. So listen, I don't understand why you don't give the guy a chance before we take the first snap from scrimmage. If you want to feel that way after the season and we go 5-5, then fine. I love you as a fan, and I love it when you chime in. You're very insightful, but man, let's just show some support before we ridicule the guy because he hadn't even taken a snap yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna put it like this, LG. When we travel to Grayson, first of all, let me start out by saying, Brandy Fox, if you are watching, if you happen to notice, I didn't say that we were going to beat y'all convincingly. That was LG. Don't be mad at me, okay? I love you.
First of all, I said if we beat them convincingly.
Yes. Good word choices, because I don't want Brady on my head. But I think that it's a pivotal game, but it's not the most pivotal game for our boys. Our boys take a lot of pride in the Colquitt County rivalry. They took I think they took that loss to heart last year. I think it bothered them, but I don't think they knew how to recover from it, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So I really think that they take pride in beating teams like Grayson on the road. And I do think it's pivotal as far as for the tail end of our season. But let's say we go up there and we lose a close one by 3 points. Is that really going to break our season? I don't really think so. Not if we hang with them for 4 quarters like we did last year. Now, I would like to see their tackles try to stop our defensive ends this year without holding on every play, but, it is what it is. And, yeah, I said what I said, and I ain't backing up from it either. Because we talked about that last year while we were at Mark Stadium.
I think sometimes when you lose a game that doesn't really affect your standing in the region, obviously losing a region game is huge.
Yeah.
But let's say you go to Grayson and you don't win, but you play a good game like Chase is alluding to, and it's a close loss. Can you turn that into a positive? I think you can, because you can say, look, we got some improving to do. We're not there yet. We're not the big bully that we used to be. We don't need to act like that because we're not there yet, but we're close. And if we make some adjustments, we can be closer to being a dominant team than we are, even though
That's
we
right.
may have lost this game. And I think sometimes losing a game isn't the worst thing in the world for a team and for a team's mindset. If you're playing and you're running through everybody, sometimes you get the big head, you get a little overconfident, you get a little lazy, and you start to believe that you're unbeatable. Whereas if you go and you lose a game, you kind of get punched in the mouth, and then you decide who you're going to be, right? So
Sure.
You got to decide who you're going to be at that point.
Yeah, let me just remind both of you guys what our schedule looks like heading into Grayson. So obviously this Saturday we've got Christ School. Then for the next 3 games, we've got 3 home games in Gadsden County. Is it? Well, no, West Broward. We don't play West Broward anymore. We play the Rock Creek out of Maryland. They're coming down, and then we play East Coweta on the 15th. So then we travel up to Grayson, and then after that game, we've got a week off heading into the Wintersville Classic. So I could easily see us 4-0. I don't really know how good Christ School is, so I'm going to count that as a win. I hope I'm right. But I'm going to say that we're 4-0 headed into Grayson. And if we go up there to Grayson and win that game convincingly, heading into Valdosta at 5-0, I think we're going to be a tough team to beat the rest of the year for any program.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Now,
I saw. Go ahead.
Speaking of Christ School, here's what Adam Carter had to say about this, and this comes for courtesy of the Viking Voice that did a pretty good interview last night at the weekly Viking Coaches Show. So again, this is Marty Rogers interviewing Coach Adam Carter, and when he was asked about Christ School and what to expect, how the boys were looking, that kind of stuff. So bear with us. This is a couple of minutes long clip, and it's going to be audio only, so you'll be able to hear it. Here goes.
First game of the season,
Can y'all hear it?
You don't schedule games like this with Lowndes and Colquitt unless you feel good about what you got. You know what I mean? So they're going to be ready. Hopefully we can do a well enough job, coaching wise to get our kids prepared and for what they're going to see and just let our kids go out there and play ball. Absolutely. Well, obviously, it's first game of the year, and we'll talk a little bit about the Christ School, but first game, I know typically you're going to be more concerned about yourself. How do you feel about your team going into this? How have they prepared? It's going to be hot. It's going to be extremely hot over there, 4 o'clock kickoff. About what time they normally practice, I guess. So talk to us a little bit about that and what, how do you feel about your team going into Saturday? I think they've done a lot, since we've got here in January to get themselves ready for really this moment, right? We prep for Tipton just like we would a normal game, but they a scrimmage in the first game always going to be a little different, right? So I feel good about them. I think that we're going to have some kids that are going to have to step up and get us reps because of the 4 o'clock start in the middle of August, that you normally don't have to deal with that heat on a Friday night. But we're going to have some kids that are going to step up and get us some reps, and offensively and defensively. So you're going to see a bunch of kids play, and hopefully, our guys have done a good job of getting multiple kids ready to go in on a Friday night and that can go out and compete.
Well, talk to us a little bit about the Christ School. What have you seen from them? What is their base, offense, defense? What do we expect from them on Saturday?
Yeah, so they're going to be a 7-man front on defense. They've got 3 Power 5 commits on defense. They got a D lineman committed to Wake, a Mike linebacker committed to Alabama, and a DB committed to North Carolina. So they got some talent over there offensively. They've got a 6'5", 290 tackle. They've got a big 215-pound running back, and a quarterback's a move in. He started, I believe, last year at another school as an 8th grader on varsity. So he's a freshman, but he's already had a year of varsity football. He's 6'4", 190. I think he's got Wake Forest offers and stuff like that. So they're talented. Again, going back to what I said, you're a small private school in North Carolina. You're not signing up for this game unless you feel good about what you got. So you can't be naive when you look and say, hey, they're small. No, they got guys. They may not have the depth, but they got a couple other playmakers on offense. Number 2, they're going to run out a 6'5" receiver that's a basketball kid. So they're talented. There's not many of them. Honestly, one of the plans is to wear on them in that first half, and hopefully our kids and the way we prep them for being down here in the South Georgia heat, that we outlast them in the second half. And so we're going to try to use that as our advantage. And like I said, play a bunch of kids to stay fresh. But they're talented now, and they're going to spread it out. They're going to let that kid throw the football to them to 0 and 2. They're really good players, and then try to pound on us with that big back.
Well, Coach, again, our preparation was perfect for tonight's show, because my next question was going to be about your stamina and about your team. Because Friday night, one thing we talked about a lot in the press box was the size that we felt like we've gained, and the fact that we didn't have any kids walk off the field cramping. Tipton did. They had 4 or 5. So to be able to put on that weight, but still go out there and perform in a muggy, early season night, I think says a lot about your conditioning and your preparation, your nutrition.
All right, so you heard what he had to say about the upcoming heat, how he's prepared for that kind of stuff. So one, I really like the way Adam Carter has prepared for this heat. It sounds like what he said was he's planning on a big time rotation of players. Did y'all hear him say that? Basically, a lot of kids are going to play. I love to hear that.
Yeah, we average 100 some odd players, guys. Yeah. So I looked at Christ School's roster. I think they have 50. I think it's either 52 or 53 players on their roster.
Right.
Maybe a little more. Maybe they had an influx, but I don't know, man. I looked at their record from now. Granted, that's last year, but I looked at their record from last year. They were 6-6 on the year, and they were 1-4 in their region. So, anything can happen on any given day on a football field, but I don't know. Maybe they play one heck of a division up there.
Yeah, those poor kids, speaking of the heat, not to beat a dead horse, but they're not going to be used to it.
Yeah.
And there's only 50 of them, so they may want to borrow some of our players to go over there and play on their team after the third quarter. But let's look at this. I mean, clearly we clearly dominate the mascot and the uniform competition here. The greenies.
Put that mascot back on the screen.
We're playing the greenies.
The greenies.
Yeah, we win that. We're already +1 on the uniform and mascot column. But no, Coach Carter's doing a lot of coach speak. He's not going to be too confident. I don't blame him. But 50 kids versus the amount of kids we can rotate in and out. We should win this game based on just the exhaustion factor alone. If we can put in fresh legs in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, we should be able to, just eke out a win, even if it's not pretty.
That's right. So, Jason, I got to say that you've made up for your negativity earlier by becoming a fan favorite and making fun of the greenies.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be something positive.
Yeah.
See, I'm not all gloom and doom.
Now, Jason, JB Wilson's got a good point. He says the guy wearing a green Viking shirt.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with the color green, but you can't be called a greenie. What is a greenie?
I don't know. I was going to ask the same question.
I don't know, but JB Wilson, I thought, came up with probably the most clever comment of the night.
He's not wrong. I definitely walked right into that one. But yeah, the greenies. I mean, how long did they take to make up that name? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but it sounds like it sounds like they've got a lot of talent as far as recruit and stuff. That what he said on defense, they've got 3 Power 5 commits. On offense, they got either 1 or 2 big offensive linemen, a bruiser running back, and a very talented quarterback. So, listen, I'm expecting them to take some shots down the field early on in this game. Because Carter says later on in the interview, I don't know if he said it in that clip, but later on in the interview, he says that basically the strategy is to take advantage of this South Georgia heat and basically wear them down, and so let the conditioning take over in the second half.
Yeah,
which is South Georgia football 101, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just want to win. It doesn't have to be a boat race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably has a lot to do with why we chose to wear white too.
Absolutely. So we've got some Colquitt fans joining us on the program tonight because we're going to be using their stadium this coming Saturday. Kyle and Susan Richter, welcome to the Viking Nation Live. Hey, listen, Kyle and Susan, if you've got any type of pull with the Colquitt County administration, I've got one request. So I posted a little bit earlier this week. So the stadium policy, the stadium rules over there at MacTharp Stadium. And the last item on the list I saw was no umbrellas. And normally I could totally understand that policy. Okay. Because if it's raining, you don't want to have a fan right next to you open up an umbrella and all of a sudden you got a waterfall on you. Right. But like I said before, we've got 204 tickets sold. Let's say we have 500 fans there. You still got plenty of room. My point is, we're going to have a number of older fans, especially at the stand. And my mom's going to be one of them. She's like 78 years old, but she likes to come to all the games and I can't talk her out of it. So with that kind of 4 o'clock heat, there's no shade out there in the stands and you don't expect to be. So you guys need to make an exception for this game to allow umbrellas to be brought into the stadium. So some of these fans could use that as temporary shade. And I think because you're approaching a very dangerous situation with the heat at that 4 o'clock kickoff. And so I've just got one simple request. So any Colquitt County administrators watching tonight, please make an exception and allow umbrellas for that game so some of these fans can have some shading for that early game.
Yeah.
To me, that's common sense.
Yeah, I agree with that, obviously.
All right. So now that we've solved all the problems of the world, okay, we've got a few minutes left in the show. And so for you guys that are tuning in tonight, if you cannot make it for the game, I hope you can make it over there. But if you can't make it to the game, it is going to be streamed on Flow Football. It's flowfootball.com. So on game day, I'll post the link to the game. So you can click on it. You just go straight to it. You pay your $20. You can watch the game. So that will happen on the game day announcement that we usually do with the graphic every single year. Okay. So I'm going to put you guys on the spot. With one preseason game under our belt, I know both of you are going to say Lowndes is going to win this game, but what do you think the margin is going to be? What's your final score prediction for this game?
Go ahead, Jason.
No way we lose to the Greenies. No way. No way we're losing to the Greenies. I think the Greenies will put up a fight in the first half, and then Lowndes will pull away by subbing players out and wearing them down, and probably win by 14.
Okay. What do you think, Chase?
I was going to say around 17. So I think our kicker probably gets his time to shine at some point, due to the heat and everything like that. So, and I like our little kicker. He's pretty accurate. So, I think they give him a shot, later on in the game to get him, 3 points. So I think somewhere around 17 to 21.
Gotcha. Okay. Guys, if you just noticed, I actually put the link to the game, the streaming game, in the comments. So it is, Joe, it may be flowfootball.tv, but the link that you sent me was flowfootball.com on that. So I put that link in the comments. And finally, Mark Dixon, thank you for entering the drawing, but you need to re-enter that. Take off the exclamation point. It's got to be just #1Lowndes. That's it. So if your intention was to enter for a chance to do the drawing, please go ahead and make that adjustment now, because we're about to make that drawing here. So let me go ahead and cue it up. All right. So you guys need to feel the dead air while I cue this thing up.
Oh, Lord. You're not sending the game warden on a fishing trip, bro. You're not doing that to me.
All right, here we go. We're going to do the drawing here. This is for 2 tickets to the game.
JB's disqualified after that comment.
Oh, Lord. What did JB say?
Congratulations to Jerry O'Neill for winning our first drawing of this new season. So, Jerry, I will contact you via Facebook Messenger as soon as the program is over to let you know how we can meet up so I can give you these tickets. So congratulations to Jerry O'Neill. So, guys, thank you so
JB
much
was
for
making fun of my grid shirt.
I know it, man. I know it.
You can't give JB nothing to run with, because he ain't gonna let you live it down. He ain't gonna let it go.
You're right.
And from what I understand, he's a really good golfer too.
Oh yeah,
you don't want to play that promotion there, Larry. My bad.
That's okay. That's okay.
You don't want to play that. You don't want to play that dude in golf. Now, I will say that you and him probably wouldn't get along in the college football department. So
listen,
JB's a big Gator fan.
Me and JB sit one row apart in church every Sunday, so we got to play nice.
Yeah, well, the only knock I've ever had against JB is JB's a Gator fan.
Yeah, he's got that affliction.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. There's
a cure for that. I mean, you can go to Tallahassee or you can go to Athens. You can find a cure in either one.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on really this first show of the new season. So anyway, next week, I'm hoping to have Emmanuel Shaw join us on the program. We wanted to try to get him on tonight because, but he's also a deputy sheriff with the sheriff's department. And so he had some not issues, but he had some things to come up that prevented him from being on the show tonight. But he is also has a budding music career. He is the guy that when we do the opening credits, where we do the countdown, the Valdosta GA song, that kind of stuff, he's the guy that wrote and sings that song on there. So anyway, he's also got an audiovisual creative type of company where he has been contracted by Lowndes Football to produce hype videos, and I think they're going to be introducing something in a couple of weeks that he's been working on for quite a while now. And so anyway, I'm not going to give away the surprise because I understand it's pretty catchy. So anyway, hopefully to have him on the show next week. So guys, all right, one final word. I'll give you guys final word. Anything else you got?
Y'all stay cool out there on Saturday. Go Vikings.
Jason, when I'm sweating my behind off out there, I'll be thinking about you laid up on your recliner in your air conditioned house.
You know what? We need to put Jason in like a group text so we just blow his phone up the whole entire game Saturday.
I don't think he would mind because he would be in the AC and we're not.
Yeah, but we get a little annoying, I'm sure. Yeah,
our thumbs might get cramped out there from the heat exhaustion, man.
Yeah, good luck texting with that sweat pouring down your fingers. You know.
Look, man, I got 12 varsity basketball players. I can get to blow a phone up.
I still don't think he minds. So anyway, with that said, guys, y'all have a great week. May God bless you guys, and we'll see you at the ballpark on Saturday. And as always, go Vikings.